Well, welcome to Success Secrets and Stories. And this is a little bit of a different kind of application of our podcast. This is our YouTube application, and we're doing something called Stories Author to Author. And as an author, I've always been inspired by people who can tell a story and learning about their background. Today, I want to introduce you to Dexter Kennedy. And he's a very interesting author. He has an interesting background. He started way long ago learning about martial arts. And instead of me trying to cobble together his history, I'm going to let Dexter discuss his history and how he was inspired to write this book and what martial arts means to him. Dexter?
Oh, hi. How's everybody doing? So, I got back in 1974. They had the martial arts craze going on in America, and a movie by the name of Fist of Fury, starring Bruce Lee, was playing here in Columbia. And I along with many, went to go see that movie. And after the hour and 30, 45 minutes, everybody came out kicking and punching and screaming, "Kaya, yeah!" They were doing all that.
Sure.
And that's what got me interested in martial arts. In fact, as soon as I left the movie, I went looking for places I could learn martial arts. So in the movie itself, it was a kung fu movie, Chinese, but we didn't have any Chinese martial arts in Colombia. So I ended up going. My first stop was a Taekwondo school, and I went to the Taekwondo school. And just from what I learned from the movie, just watching the hour and a half movie, I was able to beat the instructor for the Taekwondo class. And so I was like, wow, this isn't going to work for me. In fact, he thought I was disrespectful because I wasn't getting in the stance that he wanted and all this stuff and everything. So I ended up leaving. And then I ended up, one day I was going to work and I passed a school where a bunch of people were kicking. They had on the white gis and stuff like that there. So I went in, and the head instructor was Mike Geneva. He was Colombia's first nationally ranked black belt. So I told him that I was interested in taking lessons so I can get better. I'm pretty good. I beat a black belt over at, I explained to the school, it was over in Green, it was a Taekwondo. And he said, okay, well, he had a young kid in the corner sitting down. He was stretching. He said, why don't you spar with him so I know where to put you in the class, what class to put you in. So I went in and sparred against Robert. And for like 30 minutes, we went at it, and I couldn't touch him. I couldn't score a point. I couldn't do anything. So that made me realize that that's where I needed to be. I needed to be at school where I can be challenged. And so started taking classes. And I was a forms competitor. I was one of those guys who did the kind of like martial arts dance. I'd go to a tournament. And the thing that's so funny about it is Mike Geneva didn't teach forms. I was able to pick up forms from watching the movies. So I ended up being the top competitor in martial arts forms for the region. I was rated Southeast Karate Association as a green belt and a blue belt. And so one day, the top fighter in the school, Kenny Wilkes, he approached me and said, man, I'm getting sick and tired of you going to tournaments. You barely break a sweat and you end up winning first place trophy. And I got to sweat. I got to fight for my trophies. So he said, come on, I'm going to see if you can, I want to see what this forms thing is all about. So he and I went at it. We sparred and he beat me. He beat me. In fact, he beat me so bad, I didn't show up to the school for 4 months. 4 months. But during that 4 months, you know, I had a job and I was buying equipment so I could train. So I would buy a heavy bag. I bought a stretch rack. I bought all these different pieces, components to help me just hone my craft. And about 4 months later, I showed up at the school and I was looking for him because I wanted to pay back. So I went ahead and when we were just talking, I said, come on. He said, nah, you know how it went last time. And I kicked him in the head. He was like 6'1". I'm 5'7". he was shocked that I was able to kick him in the head like that. So so we sparred, and this time I beat him. So he was impressed, and we started working out together more often. We started going to karate tournaments together. We actually, there was a tournament in North Augusta, and I tell my teacher this all the time. I said, you probably don't remember this. I know Kenny was the top fighter of school, and Luther was the second to the top. But there was a tournament that all three of us fought in, where I took first, Kenny took second, and Luther took third. And they said, "What tournament was that?" I said, "North Augusta. I got the trophy at the house."
So you can prove it.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun to be able to sit back there. But it's like styles make fights. They say styles make fights in boxing and stuff like that. So that's what got me into martial arts. I ended up I went into the military. So I had a chance. They were going to start doing these TV ads and everything for me, for the school, because I was so good in forms. And I ended up going in the military. And before I went in the military, I was the sparring partner of a guy by the name of Jimmy Jackson. Jimmy. He ended up being the super lightweight champion of the world. By the time I got to Germany, so I finished basic training, AIT, and I became the super lightweight. He became the super lightweight champion by the time I did 2 years in the military, and I was his sparring partner for his first professional fight. So that made me feel good to know that. But then I did. I remember when I first finished basic training, AIT, and I went to Baumholder, Germany. I was probably E4. Our commander, he said, we want to do a boxing smoker. And there was like 5,000 soldiers. I need a soldier to represent our battalion against the 187th Battalion. And nobody raised their hand. So I looked around and I raised my hand. So here I am. I'm going to just imagine you got 5,000 people. You don't know who you're going to box on, but you raise your hand to box. Martial arts gave me that confidence to do that. It gave me the courage to where I could say, yeah, I could hold my own. I'm sure I don't know who the other guy's going to be, but yeah, I'll do that. So I did that and I won. And the post-boxing coach saw me fight. And while I was in Germany, I ended up fighting on the post-boxing team. So I ended up fighting on the post-boxing team. And the heavyweight person for our team, for Baumholder, ended up being a heavyweight champion of the world. I'm trying to remember his name. He fought against Larry Holmes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was on the same boxing team I was on. I didn't go pro or anything. I did 5 fights. I won 3 and lost 2, but that was amateur fights, right? So, but I can say I boxed, and I took the 5th Corps boxing champion as a welterweight. So, but all that's because of martial arts, giving me the courage to feel comfortable and confident in my skin, getting out there boxing. So I did that while I was in the Army. Then when I retired from the Army, after having served in Desert Storm and everything, I needed to figure out something to do to stay in shape, because I've always been in shape, karate. I played on the football team in high school. I was the star fullback for my high school. At 5'7", I was the fullback, my high school, and I set a bench press record. So I've always been somewhat athletic and fit. So once I came back, my mom told me, she said, "You're trying to figure out what you're gonna do. Why don't you go ahead and go back into the martial arts? Why don't you do that?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'll do that."
Mom knows best, right?
Yeah. So she was right. I went. So I went to my old school, which where Mike was. He still owns the school, but he had a young black belt by the name of Jimmy Sherman, and he was running the school. So I asked him after he finished his class, I said, "Hey, do you do tournaments?" He said, "No." I said, "I want to start going." I told him, I said, "Hey, I want to start going to tournaments. I'm looking for somebody to, train with." So he said, "Well, you can work out here. You can train." So we started sparring, and I think I got him by 15 years. I think I was like 50, 45, and he's like 30, So I had him like by 50, but I broke his ribs, and then he was like, "Wow, you're a pretty good fighter." I said, "Yeah, but I haven't fought, and I'm just strong. I'm strong. I haven't fought. I don't have the flexibility." So started sparring, and then he broke my ribs. I guess that was payback. He wanted to do that.
That's a strange way of getting along. I mean, breaking each other's ribs. That's an interesting exchange.
Yeah, I've had my ribs broken, I'm gonna say probably about 3 or 4 times. Never in boxing.
Yeah.
Only in karate. Yeah. So that's why I said that, what martial arts to do, the thing, I think the fear with a lot of people is getting hit. The hurt part, getting hit. But if you get hit every day sparring, and you get hit by you get hit in the head with certain kicks and stuff like that. I've got hit in the head with a full side kick, and it didn't knock me out. And my teacher saw it, and he's like, "Wow, you stood up from a full head from a side kick." That let me know I could handle the punch. So now I'm not that guy looking all around. I can walk straight on in. You know what I mean? So it gives you a certain level of confidence to where you don't have to worry about, you're going to get hurt too bad, stuff like that.
So I just wanted to interject real quick. The line that comes to mind is Mike Tyson's line about everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. I'm sure you had those moments in time.
Yeah, I had a plan. I had a fight in somewhere in Germany. I don't remember where it was, but they announced my record. When they named the fighter, the record, his weight, and all that stuff. So they called out mine. I was like 3-0 then. I was 3-0, and this guy was like 32-5. And when they said 32-5, that's when I said, "Whoa, what's going on? I'm not fighting this guy." So automatically the fear went into my head because this guy, I've only had 3 fights. And my coach was like, "Yeah, but you've had good fights." I said, "Yeah, but I don't have the experience this guy has." This guy hit me one time, precision, power, and my whole face swelled up. And then from that after that punch, it was a foot race. I was running. It was comical. People was, if you saw that, you laugh. This guy was trying to chase me down. I was running back and forth. Guard. I said, nah, new 32-5. Nah, that's not even a fair fight.
Yeah, I think that's my fighting style, is more of the track race side of it, not the punching side of it. As a matter of fact, I took one Taekwondo class, and it was interesting. The instructor taught me one move. He said, "Well, get in your position. All right, now I want you to flip 180 degrees and run like heck." Because if you find somebody who has martial arts, they're going to kick your butt. So let's talk about your book. The title is intriguing. Taking on the NFL with pro teams of KumiteSport. The martial arts of making people better for life.
So basically, I've written that book. I think it's got a different face on it, but initially that book was taken on the NFL, the National Martial Arts League. So the first book, the first version was taken on the NFL, the National Martial Arts League. It's the same book, just rewritten. There may have been some upgrades to it, and it's got a different cover. So I went from that one to Team Point Fighting Investors Game Plan. And that one, it had a game plan on a writer by the name of Val Zabiri, who has written 10 books. He found me, and he liked my book so much that he wanted to go ahead and make sure it was a good quality book. So he actually went through it page by page. And now the version you see today is because of his help. So it's got It's got team logos in it. It's got contracts in it. But the reason why I did the book initially was, like I said, I went to I fought in the tournament in Spartanburg, and I realized that we were all just individuals sparring. There still had no real teams. So I said, man, why isn't there something like this? Why aren't there any teams? And then I found out that the pioneer of martial arts, who they call the father of martial arts, Jun Rhee, he came up with the concept, but it didn't work. Chuck Norris tried it. He called it the World Combat League. And then people would tell me, they would say, you can sue Chuck Norris. He took your idea. I said, yeah, he kind of took, but the way he's doing it isn't going to work. And they're like, but that's Chuck Norris. What do you mean? I said, well, just think about it. If you pull any data on martial arts, everybody at one time or another, I said there's a lot of people that take, but they don't go all the way to black belt. So everybody that I know of, I would say, if somebody would ask me, I'd say at least 60% of the population is taking some kind of martial art where they've worn some safety equipment protection because they wanted to learn how to protect themselves. Now, how far they went, that's different. I can't sit back there. I would say we probably have a lot fewer because of the time it takes to get your black belt. And so it's a different type of person that ends up staying all the way to get black belt. But in my book, what I propose is I'm slicing some things out to create a league. And I'm focusing on the point part of it. But I'm tying it to a national campaign, a national Stop the Violence campaign. Whereas when you sit back and think about the top 10 crime issues in America, I think we could address those because when you really think about it, the rape, domestic violence, home invasions, and I think that we have people with skill sets with training. So across America, we have hundreds of tournaments, martial arts tournaments, and those martial arts tournaments are solely focused on martial arts.
Sure, and dancing, not really combat. They're more dancers.
Right. So, and what I'm proposing to join the movement, Help Save America, in my book, and SAVE is an acronym for Stand Up Against Violence Everyone. So I think that if we change the focus of martial arts tournaments to where we address those top 10 crime issues on a national circuit where we have like platinum tournaments, and the platinum tournaments would be a tournament that has special workshops, training, and seminars focused on providing training in those top 10 areas, crime areas, right? So just to give you an example, I'm 66, but I do know there's people I've seen people as young as 55 walking with a cane, walking with canes. I went to the Houston martial arts show, and there's a master by the name of Gary Shuey who walks around with a cane. He teaches people how to use the cane as a weapon, but that guy got down in a full split, and he's 77 years old.
Okay, I'm at 70. I'm not doing any full splits. I'm kind of really happy if I can touch my toes. So I gotta do some more exercising, obviously.
Yeah, this guy, his table was next to my table, and he got in a full blown split, and I was like, "Whoa, now that's impressive." At 70, the point that I wanted to bring out is he's known as the cane master. So when people see persons with a cane, they consider them to be vulnerable and easy to approach and attack and get, their money or whatever. Well, through the Help Save America campaign, Mark Shuey would be a resource that provides training to those people who carry canes. So that's one thing that would be part of that tournament. So not only we would have training workshops and seminars, and then as a part of that tournament, the 18 plus black belt fighters that win first place in their division for fighting, they would comprise the team, the professional team that goes off outside of that tournament to compete against the other teams in a national championship that we would call the Kumite. So that's what I call that KumiteSport. Because see, a lot of people would sit back and say Kumite. A lot of people consider martial arts to have to be brutal. They have to be brutal, but most of us, when we start off with martial arts, we're trying to figure stuff out, and we do the point. You strike this area, that would be 1 point. You strike to this area. So I think the majority of people would get involved in that versus the MMA. So I think I think there's also, we got different kind of people that like gory stuff, and some people want to be entertained. I think there's a lot of stuff that can be done in a point match. It can be entertaining, exciting, but in addition to that, these folks would be like superheroes because now they're part of that Stop the Violence campaign, and they would be, able to sign autographs and the whole thing that goes with it, the logos, team logos, the memorabilia. And I think we missed. I don't think that the tournament promoters realize, it's like we're leaving money on the table, and there's a lot we can do still yet here in America to make it safer, if you will. But
no, I really thought that you did a very good job of describing the professional approach, and I'm really impressed with the SAVE program. And to your point of how that can be actually brought into the community, what I really thought was interesting too was you're talking about the ability for kids to get involved in it, and there's the safety factor, there's the discipline, which is the element that you find in martial arts, but it's giving them the avenues, especially like boys are boys, so you have to get the energy out. Understanding discipline and respect at the same time is one of the trademarks, or one of the better parts of understanding martial arts. Is there any college level that could act like a primer to your pro concept?
Well, I know that when I first got started in karate, University of South Carolina had its own karate team, and it had Keith Vitale, it had Mike Geneva was part of it, Steve Vitale, Tony Bell. I mean, it was quite a few guys, but they represented the University of South Carolina, and they would go to these tournaments. Now, I do know that some colleges have martial arts programs, but because there's never been a real move toward having a professional league, those programs are probably just what they call it, an elective or something like that in college, right?
Right.
And they're not getting scholarships for it and stuff like that. Keith Vitale, who's a Hall of Famer, ended up doing Revenge of the Ninja. He's done a number of movies. Who was also one of my instructors. He had a scholarship. He came to the University of South Carolina on a track scholarship, and ended up getting involved in the martial arts, and he's a Hall of Famer. His name is behind Bruce Lee in the Hall of Fame. So he's done that well across. He's like America's #1 point fighter for like 10 years or something. But, I think there's an opportunity, but I also think what would happen in a case like that is just like you see when they do the NFL and they introduce a player, they'll say John so-and-so from Grambling or whatever that school is. I think it gives a martial arts school some credibility by their fighter having won a position on the team. So I mean, there's a couple ways to look at it. There's more karate schools than there probably are colleges across America, because everybody, and a karate school can be as small as 5 people, or a college, they probably wouldn't even have a program with 5 people. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them where they are. Through my book, there are, like I said, there's over 500 different tournaments that happen. I'm looking for established tournaments that decide They want to be a part of the Stop the Violence campaign. And what they're willing to do is during their tournament, that weekend of the tournament, have workshops, trainings, and seminars focused to address that community's issues instead of it just being a karate tournament. Because what we can do with that is we can reach out to mayors of cities and say, hey, you're on the top 32 list. We would like to bring our program to your city. Now, so the HelpSaveUSA.org website, it is kind of like a database of collection of resources. So if you have a certain resource or you have a certain skill set, you can actually go to that website, HelpSaveUSA.org, and you can register to be a resource for the campaign. And that's what through the website, I'm looking for tournament promoters that have an existing tournament. I'm looking for martial artists, school teachers, first responders, anybody with skill sets to help address those issues. And then if I look at on the website, because I want to go ahead and give you those top 10 crime issues, so I can tell you what those are, then people will know. Oh, okay. So add yourself as a resource. They have violent crimes, trends, and statistics. So we're looking for expertise on, you got these statistics, certain areas, you'll be able to look at the data and say, okay, in this area we have this crime's up in this area. So what can we do to fix the crime in that area? If you ever watched that TV show that they used to do Comstat, and it had Craig T. Nelson on it, and they would have the thing on the screen, and he'd sit back and have all his chief police in there, and they would be talking about, okay, we're going to address this. So I'm looking at that on a national level, something like that. And then what is rape and rape prevention? So now there's not a karate class, but a specialized class in rape and rape prevention. So this is different than just taking karate. People automatically assume that you take karate, you're going to be able to do all these things. Well, it may be 3 years before you get to that point, and some people don't have 3 years. Domestic violence and how not to become a victim. There's people who do that kind of work now. Now we're talking about putting it into a national campaign as part of the focus of a tournament. So it's not just people fighting. They got all these seminars and workshops going on. So this takes a regular average tournament and turns it into something big with a cause. Manslaughter, what are the laws and how you could be convicted? Arson, what a dumb crime, but it still happens. Bullying, what it is, and are you doing it? Property crime, what are the types and penalties? Break-in, how it could happen to you. Theft, how to protect your stuff. Home invasions, what to do if this happens to you. Self-defense, tools you can use to defend yourself. Now, I'm not talking, when I say self-defense, I'm talking about a focused 6 to 12 weeks on self-defense. So a person who feels they need to learn self-defense, then go and say, I want this self-defense class. I don't want to learn karate. I want 12 weeks and get a certificate. And then once every 2 years or 3 years, they come back to get recertified. How about something like that? That way you keep the schools going, but they may not have a lot of people in it, but you got people who are coming in there for these programs instead of, I'm here to get my black belt, because that could be a journey. It took me 10 years to get mine.
Yeah, and I think most of the large urban areas are looking for some kind of program to help that progress. I know that where I live, close to Chicago, they're constantly looking at trying to help those communities that are impacted. They have limited success. It is always a challenge. Your SAVE program and the approach of trying to combine it with a commercial application and trying to find those synergies are really interesting. So the writing of the book and the elements that you are probably the part that you want people to take away from that exercise, that the opportunity to share probably something. For me, it's a motivative statement, something that kind of capsulizes the core message you're trying to get across. Have you ever thought about that core message?
Yeah, the core message is making people better for life. That's what we do.
I like that. Yeah.
Making people better for life. That's what we do. Helps them.
Before I forget, thank you for your service. Thank you for your leadership. And it is really an honor to be able to talk to someone who understands a little bit of what I have done is more in the business side of it. And I believe in something called being a servant leader. I serve others. I see a lot of what you speak about and what you talk about is serving others. And it's admirable. I am actually, it is really an honor to be able to talk to you. I find the book interesting. I do find it interesting that you're calling out the NFL, which seems to be pretty successful. Have you heard anybody from the NFL? Did they make any contact to you?
No, actually, I've had people. That might be why the book didn't do it well because the first book was Take It on the NFL, the National Martial Arts League. So it actually sounds like a call out, a challenge.
Yeah.
But actually, what it means to me is here we are, martial arts. We're going to create a league, kind of like the NFL for martial arts. So I couldn't think of any other way to word it in a title and not make it too long of a title. But just think of it. So taking on the NFL with pro teams. So we're taking a look. We're kind of like mirroring the NFL. My book is basically taking the NFL started off as a nonprofit. Boom, I'm doing this as a nonprofit. I learned that they pay membership fees. They paid membership fees first. So those teams, and maybe it wasn't until 10 years ago that they became a for-profit. But before that, when they first started, they were a nonprofit. So if those people who watch the NFL but don't know the history of the NFL, they may think I'm challenging the NFL. But what I'm saying is and I say that in like the first couple paragraphs of the book. Could the National Martial Arts League really challenge the NFL? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. That it has its own holiday, and I mean, you got a lot. At one time, baseball was America's number one.
Right.
But shoot, man, they've done and the way that people look forward to. I look right now. My team's the Chiefs. They won on Monday night. I'm ready for their next. They got a bye this week, so I got my family reunion happening this weekend. So
sure.
So I got a bye, but I'll do the next one. And but I try to watch. Anytime I sit back, I clear my schedule because I'm watching the NFL.
So you're not competing, but I think that is probably an interesting point too. The other part that I thought was interesting about the book, you did lay out the process, the contracts, the incentives. I think if somebody had a business sense that was looking for somebody to spell out how to start a sport or a business associated with a sports program, you've done a wonderful job of describing that. Not just kind of comparing it to an NFL, but any kind of sports application. You did a fantastic job in the book spelling it out. It is a very good description, and it's interesting in terms of hearing the backstory of all the different things you did as you learned that process. It wasn't something that you started with; it's something that you modified over time.
Right. And then basically, I would tell people because I presented the idea at a karate tournament back in 2003. First came up with the idea back in 2003. And I told him, I said, what do you think would happen if the NFL just said, we're doing tryouts for the NFL? all you had to do was pay like $100 registration fee, and they had like a month or two set aside. How many people do you think would show up to play in the
Thousands.
And so I said, we have the opportunity here. The problem, the problem we have is we don't have the marketing the NFL has. I mean, the NFL, the marketing the NFL has is so great to where they got high school programs, they got elementary school. Everybody's playing football, so they don't have to, but yeah, we got a lot of people doing martial arts, but they don't associate it with a team. So all we got to do is do the transition to the team.
Right.
And then boom, people wanting to. So that's what KumiteSport can do, and having the National Martial Arts League for martial arts. Because at tournaments, any of these platinum tournaments, all they got to do is pay the registration fee to try out for the team. And if they win their position, they're on the team. So I tell them, I said, man, that's huge. Just imagine if that was happening in the NFL, So, that's how I came up with all this stuff. It's just that I was trying to figure out what a real catchy title. And even though I've gotten like five versions of the same concept in a book, I still don't know which title works the best by sales. So I'm promoting this one because this is the latest. But I mean, I think some people would gravitate to taking on the NFL, the National Martial Arts League. I did a Goodreads. I did Goodreads on the one book I have. That's what is that book I did? It's called Team Point Fighting Investors Game Plan, and I had over 2,000 people were interested in that book. So I think the titles. I think titles and book covers can, if you get enough out there, I think they can market. It's just a one-page billboard. They sit back and say, oh, man. And then on my taking on the NFL, the National Martial Arts League, it has a National Martial Arts League logo on it, like the NFL, with a martial artist in it. And then it's got 32 franchise teams available on the cover. So, but, that one didn't get a whole lot of traction. And that's what caught Val Zabiri's eye. But my next step would probably get a movie. I mean, people are telling me, you ever thought about doing a movie screen presentation? And I said, never thought. I was thinking about doing a movie.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. So Dexter, this has been really an opportunity to talk, and the author moment. It's really helpful for me to hear your passion in which you talked about and how you came about writing this story, the history and your service and all the things that are associated with your background in order to make this a document that is worthy to listen to and a book that you should read. And I would really strongly I would strongly recommend that if you are into the martial arts side of it, there's some merit to moving the martial arts to the next level. And Dexter's talking about, I think, a very interesting platform. There's a ton of work that he's worked on in order to try to present it. And I am impressed. Dexter, how would you like to close this out? How would you like the folks to understand to contact you?
So those folks that are interested in then being a part of the Help Save America campaign, they can reach out to me through helpsaveusa.org. Those people who need detailed information about how it works, they can purchase the book through my website, dextervkennedy.com. And on there, it has all of the books that are available that I, as an author, that I've written. But I'm focused solely right now on trying to get the teams, get cities that have these crime issues that they want resolved. They want to go ahead and make it so it's a national thing on a national campaign to where their city, they give up one weekend out of the year to where we would focus on crime issues for that city and allow me to bring my team of resources there so we can do the workshops, seminars, and training to help your community so they have the education and training so that we can reduce crime across America.
Outstanding. I mean, that is, I hope that people take the time and have the opportunity to research and find your book. And so in closing, this is our series on author to author from Success Secrets and Stories. I want to thank Dexter Kennedy and for all his efforts and his book, taking on the NFL with the pro teams of the KumiteSport martial arts, making people better for life. And there's so much more to that titled. Pick up the book, read it. It's awesome. And Dexter, thank you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.